One of the hassles of this big girl is fueling her every morning, and I was putting about 12 to 16 gallons of fuel, depending on how hard we ran it, every morning using jerry cans, and it was a pain in the butt. So I found these. Well, there were two of them. At the time I couldn't figure out what I'd ever use them for, so I left one because I didn't want to be greedy. And then now I'm like, dang, wish I had them both. But found these. These are a boat gas tank. 18-gallon capacity. So I can probably suck 14 out of it easy enough. Maybe even 16 out of it easy enough. And I'm thinking of using it as my diesel fuel tank. My original plan had it bolted way up here. And then I would there's no port in the bottom, but I'd add a port in the bottom and then siphon, gravity feed it down. But it was up in the air a long ways, and this is our rock trailer, so it means I'm hauling it up and down that road constantly. There'll be all that weight slamming side to side. I think it'd just be better down here, sitting on top of the wheel well. Just put a board or something that I can rest on, but thinking better down here, and which means I got a pump. So I've got... Is it? I got this rotary cast iron barrel pump.
Is it okay if I do the coat, Dad?
Would you like me to do it?
I could probably do it.
Oh, okay. Light coat. Give best results. I got this rotary barrel pump. It says it pumps up to 10 gallons a minute, so I'd be in it about, even if it doesn't pump at full bore, I'd be in it at about 90 seconds or so. That's doable. But it's got to be modified. I got to find, which seems like it's no big deal. I'll have to put on it suction pipes and then cut them off and find a way to put it through here. Put the handle right over here somewhere. And I've got a chunk of fuel hose and the filler neck out of a Ford Bronco that I'll connect those two right there, and that'll be my fill. And then I'll have to come up with something for the vents, and I'll have to figure out a way to filter it, some sort of inline large bore fuel filter. That's sort of what we're thinking of. Let's get that pump out and see what it looks like. So that's the basic idea. We're already running into some issues, so I'm going to have to add that second, because I got to keep it up in the air some. I think this is pipe thread. I think it is anyways. So I'm hoping I'll be able to mount this. We slip it through and weld it to a plate that I've drilled to fit those holes. This thing's the old fuel gauge. And then I'd like to come out of here just come out and down like that, envision a 90, into a fuel filter. And then from the fuel filter, just a hose with just a pipe nipple in it, so that it's got some weight. I can stick it down inside the truck's fuel tank, and then when I'm not using it, I can screw a pipe cap onto it to keep it clean, because there's going to be all sorts of crap blowing around back in here. So that's the basic idea right there. And then I can stand here and crank, and I can back the trailer up or pull alongside the truck, and I think that'll work. Let's look at maybe coming up with a mount to mount those things too. like a flat plate that I can put it through and then weld it to one of those and then drop it in here. So I cut this down. We got our height set. That gives me enough room. I could probably cut it just a little bit shorter if I truly wanted to. I imagine I should. I mean, I just don't want to be clobbering my knuckles, right? Why have it too particularly short? I was really worried the pump would put a lot of lateral stress, and so if I actually welded a solid plate right here and then bolted to this, that the flexing would either break my weld joints or break the top of the tank. But there's just not much there. I mean, I barely tipped the tank side to side and it's just sitting here. So I think that's going to be okay. Maybe I'll put a bigger sleeve or something up here. I think that's going to be alright. So now I need to work out. Use a spare piece here. I'm going to work out exactly what size hole. Find out if I have a hole saw that's even close. I should. It did it. It didn't like it, but it did it. That's all the slower I can make this machine go, I'm afraid. Well, I didn't have the right size hole saw, so the fit's going to leave something to be desired. We'll just say I'm leaving a nice gap so I have something to fill with weld to ensure I got a nice tight seal. And we'll call it a feature. Sounds like a plan. We'll call it a feature. Now I just got to mark the level. I know it's sitting on the bottom right now, and that's not something I want it to do. But I'll just mark this line and adjust accordingly when I weld. I mean, I certainly want it almost all the way to the bottom. There we go. One transferred. Bolt pattern. Gonna go center punch these and we'll get them drilled. It'd be foolish not to test fit it first, so there it is, all test fitted. Now for the welding part. Decided I'm not. See, I don't want it to rub on the bottom, vibrate as I'm driving with the trailer, because that'll eat through, right? But there's no need for it to. There's no need for it to be way up in the air. I think that I'm going to go ahead and just weld it at the line, and then my gasket will hold it up, and I'll cut some slits at the bottom of the pipe. I really want it to draw from the bottommost of the tank. I want it to suck all the junk out every time. I want it to remove all the diesel. Because when I'm done using it for this, then this will get turned into a gasoline tank and I'll use it, you know, haul for the backhoe or something. So I want to be able to empty it completely. Well, this is what I got setup wise. I'm going to have to see if I can thread the needle here between Getting a decent penetration, warping it, and blowing through. And I suspect I can do that if I'm careful. Started to sprinkle, so I just couldn't take the time to, you know, film and make. But there it is. It's got a rubber gasket cut. I put some silicone around it. I know silicone's not supposed to be RTV blue, not supposed to be used with fuel immersion, but I'm more or less using it as basically a gasket material itself, and I got it squishing out at top and bottom. Everything's snugged up nice and neat. That's pretty darn firm. I think it'll probably be okay, unless the pump is somehow a whole lot more work to crank. I welded the top and the bottom. I did have some blowouts, but I was able to chase it and fill them. And then I have mixed up some, 20-ton epoxy or 5-ton epoxy or 10-ton epoxy, and I've smeared it all the way around top and bottom, so that if there was any pinholes, in theory I've got them sealed. There won't be much of anything on it. If I forget to open the vents, there'll be some suction. And the vents are gonna be an issue. I'm gonna have to figure out what I can do with that. My original thought was a valve, and then when I'm pumping I open it, but this thing's gonna sit in the heat of the sun and then the cold of the day, and so I need an open vent of some sort. I'm thinking maybe a pinhole vent, a tiny pinhole vent on one, and a valve vent on the other, and then that way we don't cause it to build pressure and leak everywhere during the heat of the day, or cause it to cave in on itself at night. But when I'm pumping, I can open it. This thing goes down. The way I welded it, it actually touched the bottom. Like I said, I didn't want to do that, so I cut, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch off, and then I made 5 little slits, another 1/4 of an inch up, so that it looks kind of like a castle coming down. And that'll let me pull everything I can from the bottom. So I think with the rain coming in and the light fading, that's gonna be it for the fuel tank trailer at this point. So we'll have to come back and hit her again another time. And then obviously, before we put her back on the road, it needs to be completely rewired. I was so tired of fighting the lights with it last year, so completely rewired, and it'd be awesome if it had some sort of auxiliary light of something, because how often I end up moving it around in the dark, and what a horrible pain that is. You have to stand on the brakes to try to light everything up with the brake lights. Of course, if that thing, which is what I pull it with, had some lights in the back, maybe up on the top somewhere, then that would solve that problem. But regardless, this is our first salvo crossed. Put this pump back in the garage. I'm not going to need most of these parts and pieces, but we'll save them. Huh. Maybe I can get an extra pump of some sort, a primer pump. Wonder what sort of mailing list I get on. Oh well, we'll come back, hit this another time.